In the last few minutes, the government has announced it's accepting the recommendations made by the independent pay review body for public sector workers. Teachers and doctors in England will be given a 4% pay rise and other NHS workers a 3.6% rise. In a moment, we'll get political reaction from Leila Nathu and speak to our health correspondent, Nick Triggle. But first to our education editor, Branwen Jeffries. She's been speaking with teachers ahead of the announcement. How will they take this news, Branwen?
Today's announcement is going to be greeted with relief, both by teachers who have been asking for an above-inflation award and also by schools who are being told that effectively 3% of this will be funded and they only have to find 1% efficiency savings out of their budget. And that really matters, as parents will know from the appeals and fundraising that they often get for the extras in school. School budgets are really, really tight at the moment. Schools had planned for a 1% efficiency. This is a significant move from the government, who initially offered far less to teachers. I spoke to the General Secretary of the National Education Union, Daniel Kebede, who'd been briefed on these figures, and he said it would still put pressure on school budgets.
Of course, schools are getting extra money, but it's a partially funded pay award, not a fully funded pay award. So that means that schools will have to make difficult decisions around resources throughout the next coming year. Any teacher, any school leader recognises it's very difficult to make any cuts in school at the moment, and our members and parents care deeply about the issue of school funding. We all want to see a prosperous country, but we have to recognise that we need investment in our children to achieve that.
For parents, the key aspect of this is that the level of this offer, which is above inflation, means it's unlikely that teachers will go to a strike ballot, although we may see further campaigning around school budgets. And for anyone watching elsewhere in the UK, well, a similar amount of money will be allocated to the other nations, and it will be for them to decide on their own teacher settlements.
We wait and see. Branwen, thank you. So that's the education perspective. What about for health workers? Nick Triggle is our health correspondent. Hi there, Nick. How will this news be received from their perspective?
Well, the government might find that the reaction from the NHS and the health unions is somewhat different. The British Medical Association was already planning a ballot of resident doctors. That's a new name for junior doctors, and that's due to start next week. Now, that was announced before today's announcement, but we understand that the sums that have been agreed today are not going to make a difference, and that ballot will still be going ahead, with the British Medical Association saying the money, 4% for doctors plus 750 extra for doctors in training, is not enough. Obviously, junior doctors have taken part in a series of strikes in 2023 and 2024. Meanwhile, sources at the Royal College of Nursing say they don't think their members will be happy. They've pointed out that nurses have had real terms pay cuts of 25% over the last 10 years, and they'll be considering their options as well.
Nick, thank you. Well, let's go to our political correspondent, Leila Nathu. And Leila, we're expecting, as we've been hearing, a mixed reaction from a health and education perspective. This is a delicate balance politically, isn't it?
Absolutely, Nina. I mean, if you cast your mind back to last year when the government came into power, one of its first actions was to try to end the wave of industrial action that we'd seen across the public sector. They were very clear that they wanted to bring an end to disruption, try to encourage recruitment, retention of staff that across the public sector they were saying that they needed to encourage. So that was an immediate priority of the government, to try to accept these recommendations of independent pay review bodies last year so that they could stop industrial action. Now we're on to this financial year, 25-26, another decision was looming. It looks as if across the board that they have actually chosen to accept the recommendations once again of the independent pay review bodies, with an eye on trying to stave off future industrial action. Now, the second question that the government will have to answer is who is paying for that, because we know, for example, at least in the NHS and in terms of teachers, the government had only budgeted for 2.5 3.8% rises. In the event, they are going above that now to give 4%. You heard Branwen saying that actually teachers are going to get that partially funded. There is a pot of money being allocated to the government. Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, makes clear that he is having to make difficult choices elsewhere in his budget to give NHS staff 4%. So difficult trade-offs. We know that money is tight. There was obviously a big debate across the Labour Party about other choices in terms of the government spending decisions. The government will hope that this decision today will keep the unions and public sector staff happy, as well as not stretching them financially.
Layla, thank you.